I would request Monica Gargji, Additional Chief Secretary, Higher Education with the Government of Uttar Pradesh, to please deliver our special address. Monica, ma'am.
Thank you, Mr. Gautam, for inviting me to this webinar. Honorable Member of Parliament, Dr. Suresh Prabhu, Honorable Minister of Higher Education, Government of Uttarakhand, Dr. Dhan Singh Rawat, and my friends from education sector. I would be focusing on the employability of the 4 E's that are the key for today's session. I'll be focusing on employability, and I'll start by reading out from the National Education Policy 2020. One paragraph I'll read out. Preparation of professionals must involve an education in the ethic and importance of public purpose, an education in the discipline, and an education for practice. It must centrally involve critical and interdisciplinary thinking, discussion, debate, research, and innovation. For this to be achieved, professional education should not take place in the isolation of one's specialty. So my talk today will revolve around this particular paragraph and this particular theme of NEP 2020. NEP 2020 emphasizes the role of higher education in promoting individual and societal well-being. The policy envisions the development of an enlightened, knowledgeable, and skilled nation that can find and implement robust solutions to its own problems. This will be done through major changes in the higher education sector, and importantly, by focusing on the skill development and integrating skill with education. This is a most contemporary and relevant departure from the earlier policies on education that could lead our country into the 21st century and the 4th industrial revolution. Well, skill gap is a quagmire both for the individual and industry. In the present scenario, India has a large population of unemployable youth. On the one hand, we have highly educated youth with expensive state-funded degrees who cannot be employed because they do not have the required skills. On the other hand, we have highly skilled individuals who are not eligible for jobs because they don't have the knowledge of the 3 R's. The industry complains of the paucity of practical training by the academia, by the universities during their UG and PG programs, and the academia complains of non-cooperation by the industry for the student projects for their internship. And who bears the brunt of it all? The country and our economy. I want to bring one fact again to the notice, that to bring it in the whole talk into the proper context, that the 12th five-year plan estimated that less than 5% of the Indian workforce in the age group of 19 to 24 years received formal vocational education. This is in contrast to the developed countries like USA, Germany, and South Korea, where vocational education is much more common. It varies from 50% to 96% in these countries. If you look into the causes leading to this in our country, the causes are multifarious. Vocational training and skill development are not placed at par with the regular streams of education in our country, in our society. The general perception is that the students who lag behind go into the vocational training part. Vocational education is considered inferior to the mainstream education. Students aiming to do well professionally, they prefer mainstream education, and vocational training centers are considered second rate. This spills over into the academics as well, to the extent that even the students joining the engineering colleges or other professional courses do not possess the market-oriented practical skills. Mushrooming of engineering colleges over the last decade or so, without adequate quality checks, has resulted into engineering students getting a pay package less than ITIs and polytechnics. This is a matter of serious concern for all of us. And complete reimagination of skill training during the higher education would be required to address this issue. NEP has given us an opportunity, but the success would lie in an effective and proper implementation. Here I would like to share an example of a national institute, of an institute of national level, which is NIFT, National Institute of Fashion Technology. In the year 2010-11, NIFT decided that its students would have an internship with the artisans and weavers of the country. There are hundreds of clusters of handloom and handicrafts spread across the country. And NIFT decided to send its students for 21 days to one of these clusters, stay with them. In the process, the students learned the basic skills from these artisans and weavers. They also picked up practical tips right from the field and understood the nuances of each art and craft. They learned soft skills while dealing with the impediments and while how to forge professional relationships. They got a chance to practice their management and marketing skills right in the field. And in the process, the weavers also gained a lot. Students had a fresh perspective of the design of, they also gave important inputs about technology, about the raw material usage. Their suggestions led to cost cutting, improvement of designs, and even product diversification. To the extent that I would give a very small example, that Maheshwar cloth from Madhya Pradesh, which was earlier being used only for saris, it started being used as curtains for home decor purposes and for other purposes, just by students' interventions and by students' thought process, their modern thinking. A Jhabua doll, which used to sell in the village hut for 2 rupees, students converted into ear danglers, car danglers, and even into napkin holders and coasters. And it started fetching up to rupees 100 per such piece. So this is the kind of value addition that the students could, the NIFT students could bring in to these clusters and these artisans. I would envision this kind of a relationship between our professional colleges and our MSMEs. So in Uttar Pradesh, what we are doing is, we are in the process of entering into MOUs with our MSMEs. There are lots of, hundreds of, and thousands of micro, small, and medium enterprises spread across the country in organized and unorganized sector. We are now into a process, of entering into an MOU with them, with the industry associations, with the department, and the universities will then forge alliances with them. Colleges, engineering colleges and higher education colleges would also have an understanding with them, an agreement with them. This would be a win-win situation for everybody, wherein they would, the students would get practical tips and would also be able to bring fresh thinking in the design, technology, marketing, financial management, and other aspects of the value chain of the trade. Not only in engineering, but also in agriculture, I would say that we need to think that whereas the agriculture universities comprise of 9% of the universities in our country, the enrollment in agriculture and allied subjects is only 1%. So that only again indicates the lack of employability for such courses. To address this, I would say that agriculture would also need to become more practical oriented. It would need to look at the traditional knowledge, the indigenous technical know-how available. For example, in UP, I would say that sodic land is being treated by gypsum, whereas traditionally it was being treated by dhencha, sesbania, and by jalkumbhi, that is hyacinth. So these ITKs need to be merged with the emerging technologies, and they are possible if we send our millennials into the field to look into this. So what I'm trying to say is that we need to make vocational and practical training a part of the regular stream of education. Make it a part of the regular curriculum, assign credits to it so that it fetches the real, it fetches some significance, it fetches the importance that it deserves. This is in addition to the BVOC courses and the NSQF courses that we are already running. So one can also have, since NEP talks of multidisciplinary institutes, NEP talks of cluster of institutes. So we can think of having alliances with the polytechnics and ITIs of the higher education sector. Higher education institutes, HEIs, can have alliance with polytechnics and vocational colleges for ensuring that both the students of both the institutes get benefited from each other's strengths, and build upon, pick up the necessary skills. For example, a student of engineering would like to come to a higher education institute to pick up music or liberal arts. And our students would like to go to an engineering college or a polytechnic to pick up some vocational skill. And we need to identify the areas. The emerging areas are not only the high technology areas like the Internet of Things, machine learning, and artificial intelligence, but also tourism industry, catering, hotel management. We are looking to post-COVID scenario also, and architecture, town planning, and various other areas which can be tapped. Now coming to the concept of a well-rounded individual that the NEP envisages. So the skills would not only be technical skills, but also we would require to give soft skills to our students. Soft skills in terms of ethics, human values, in terms of cognitive skills, in terms of communication skills, very important, presentation and communication skills. These also would need to be integrated in the curriculum. So this is how UP is proceeding, and UP has already incorporated many aspects of NEP into its curriculum, which will be implemented from the next academic year. We have also incorporated the exit and re-entry concept of NEP into our startup policy, wherein we allow students to go in for internship and other projects to the industry. So what I look forward is to having a meaningful relationship with the industry, with the technical institutes of the state, wherein we will be able to give such skills to our students that the demographic dividend can be harnessed into a huge set of professionals in our country. The journey is tough, but I'm sure the fruits will be sweet. So I just wanted to share my experience of UP and NIFT with you. I was Director General of NIFT during 2010 to 12, when I was also working as Joint Secretary in Government of India. And so I wanted to share these two experiences with you. And it has been a pleasure, and it has been enriching listening to all the speakers since the morning. I had kept my video off, but because one is used to multitasking. So, but thank you so much for inviting me for this webinar. Thank you once again.
Thank you very much, Monica ma'am. It's a privilege to have you on board, and we got to know you, gave an overall holistic perspective of how the biggest state of India, Uttar Pradesh, is proceeding. And as you said, NEP has given us an opportunity, but its effective implementation is going to be the game changer. Thank you very much, ma'am, for that special address.